Back in this video, we are looking at the Thursday night showdown picks between the Bucs and the Bears. This one is probably going to be a fun one. We got a lot of injuries on the Tampa Bay side, so we'll have to wait to hear some of the statuses up, close to lock. But yeah, let's get into it. As always, appreciate if you guys will hit the like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at the DFS process over there. If you wanted to join, you can visit the website. Links in the description for that. And let's get started here looking at some of the plays. First off, we probably touch on all the injuries on the Tampa Bay side. They are super banged up if you just go up and down the roster. So Mike Evans is questionable. He missed practice all week. He hurt his ankle early on Sunday, went to the locker room, ended up coming back, but maybe it swelled up the next day or the couple days after. So he's questionable, but he's the type of guy that doesn't need to practice to play. So with all the injuries on the team, I think he's probably going to try to be out there. Then we have Chris Godwin, who's out once again this week with his hamstring injury. Scotty Miller is questionable. He is dealing with some just like lingering hip and groin pain. I also think he's going to play because they're super thin. Fournette is doubtful. He's probably not going to play this week. Then Justin Watson is already out, but LaShawn McCoy is out. So they're down to 2 out of their 3 running backs. Maybe even 3 out of 4 with Kenyon Barner hasn't played this year. And then O.J. Howard was placed on IR. So they are super thin offensively, which means that we're probably going to get Tyler Johnson at $200 in the flex, playing a pretty significant role. If you look at last week's snap counts, Watson played the most at 74. Evans missed quite a bit with going to the locker room, so he probably would have played like 90% plus. Scotty Miller only played 53. He's going to get a bump. Tyler Johnson will also get a bump, so you can play him as like a third wide receiver with Watson out if Evans and Miller are in. But yeah, that's kind of it on the Bucs side. If you look at the Bears side in their wide receiver snaps, and then Ronald Jones is going to get all the work he can handle at running back with no McCoy and no Fournette in this one. So if we look at the Chicago side, look at their wide receivers snap counts, how they kind of divvy them up. It's Allen Robinson at the top at 89%. Then Mooney was pretty cheap on DraftKings at 4,600, played 74%. And then you have Miller, who played 69%. So you kind of know exactly who Nick Foles is throwing the ball to as his top 3 receivers. And then Montgomery's going to get most of the work out of the backfield. So on the Bucs side, I think you want to look at Tom Brady. Obviously, you're going to have some value today with Johnson. If you wanted to play him at $200, you have Gronkowski, who's going to have to play more with O.J. Howard on the IR and is going to get more routes to run. You have, both of the kickers are cheap, I guess, if you wanted to take a shot with the kickers. Something that nobody really gets that excited about playing kickers, but we saw against the game a couple weeks ago, showdown slate, where both of the kickers went off and both nailed 50-plus yarders. So kickers always have some upside and they never get a lot of ownership, so they're always pretty solid plays. But I would say that I like Mooney at 46. He is questionable, but they said he's probable. He's been getting the second most snaps besides Allen Robinson. He looks like a pretty good option. Nick Foles targeted him 9 times last week. I'm not that interested in the Bucs defense. They're like 5,400, so they're pretty expensive. I'd rather go to like Mooney or maybe take a shot on one of the kickers. Gronk looks okay, but he's also kind of expensive at 58. He's definitely not as cheap as I thought he would be. And then we could look at Ronald Jones. Looks like a really good play. Go even play him at captain at 7,400. Just gonna get all the work he can handle with them missing 2 out of their, they're missing their first and third string running backs tonight. So we'll start with putting Ronald Jones at captain and seeing how we can kind of build a lineup with that. If you have Ronald Jones, probably want to have like Mike Evans, just because if he plays, you're gonna probably want him because he's gonna get all the looks from Tom Brady. Assuming he doesn't leave with another injury. And then play Tom Brady at 11-2. I like Brady over Nick Foles just because Brady's usually throws a little bit more. Foles last week threw 42 times. Wasn't that... they played a tough defense, so I'm not going to take anything away from him. But I'd rather go to Tom Brady than Nick Foles if I only had to pick one. Yeah, I definitely will have the cap to afford both. And then I will look at some of the wide receivers here, like Mooney at 4,600 on the Bears side. I like him at his cheap price point. Jimmy Graham looks fine. He's also kind of expensive. You can have Montgomery at $1,000 more. You could look at Scotty Miller and then Miller, both Millers. Get them in there. Anthony Miller is 6,400. He's playing the third most snaps on the team. Wide receiver at 6,400. So he looks like a decent option. Not in love with him. So we'll see if we can get even more creative with some of the value plays and maybe put in Johnson at $200. Gonna play. Definitely gonna run like 20 plus routes this week, even if Miller and Evans are in, because he's gonna be their number 3 guy. And then we could take Mooney out and then put in Allen Robinson. So this one looks fine. You're kind of really focusing in on the Bucs side. So hoping for a lopsided game if you run something like this. Or you could put Nick Foles in here, and then you could play Montgomery instead of David Robinson, or instead of Scotty Miller. So I could do something like that. I think we could look at a different captain play with like Mike Evans at captain. Mike Evans, pair him with Brady if you wanted to do Robinson with Foles. Get all the top end guys, and then we could play the cheap Johnson at $200. Just going to open up a lot of savings and get you to pay up for somebody. And then $3,900 you could take a shot with Cameron Brate. Hoping we could get up to Mooney. We're a little bit away from that, so if we do something like this, and then we can... Tom Brady is 11-2, so you're going to need him to go off. You could fade Tom Brady. Put in Ronald Jones, who should get a lot of action this week at only 7,400. Then you still have 3,100 left. You could even put in maybe Miller instead of the other Bears receiver, and then just leave $700 on the table. So this is also something else. You kind of get exposure to the top 2 pairing between Foles and Robinson. That touchdown in the last drive kind of saved Robinson's stat line, but he's been just so good this season. He makes unbelievable catches. That touchdown catch was also unreal that he had last week. So I like him to pair with Foles. You have Mike Evans at captain. You don't have Tom Brady in here, but I don't think that's a worse thing, just because you're getting exposure to everybody that he should throw to, and you're getting exposure to the running back too, so it's fine. I think a balanced approach, getting some players from both sides. So for me, if Evans is in, he's a must play. Ronald Jones is a very tough fade, and then I like Scotty Miller, and I kind of like Allen Robinson. So I think these 4 are guys I'm going to try to my best to get in. If Miller ends up missing, then maybe put in like Brady, or go with Johnson, just because he's going to be the number 2 guy if Miller ends up sitting. But all things considered, I like Evans a lot, and I love Jones, and I like Robinson just because Nick Foles loves to give him a lot of chances. So that is it for the DraftKings side. Let's go over to FanDuel. Alright, over on FanDuel, Tom Brady is the most expensive guy at $15K, followed by Foles. Then you have Mike Evans at $12,000, Robinson. FanDuel, it's a lot easier to make like a really good lineup that you feel good about, just with the salary cap, because you're not paying extra for your MVP spot. Ronald Jones looks great at 10-5. And definitely like Anthony Miller a little bit less, because I'd rather go to Scotty Miller at 8,000, who looks really good. You have Mooney at 7K, who's actually been playing more than Miller, so then Anthony Miller, be it. So I like him. Anthony Miller is probably not a guy that I will have that much interest in. So if I was building something on FanDuel, probably have like Tom Brady or Evans or Jones at the captain spot. Start with Brady, put in Evans and Jones, and that leaves you with still a solid like over 11,000 left per player. You could even put in like Allen Robinson, who's only 11.5, and then 11,000 you have left for Montgomery if you wanted to do like a balanced approach. Or sometimes it's nice to leave some money on FanDuel just because everybody has the same, or everybody's going to have the same lineup if you run one with Tom Brady at the captain and then fill up your entire salary. So you could be kind of different and put in some of like the cheaper guys like a Scotty Miller or a Jimmy Graham. Hope that they get like into the end zone. Like Miller is definitely going to be a viable option this week. You have Mooney is also pretty cheap, So just leave some money on the table. Like, this might be a lot to leave on the table, but something that not that many people will do. Or you could probably put in like play Miller and play Nick Foles. Do something like that. Do like a 4-1 stack on FanDuel. So just something to kind of consider on FanDuel. I'd say the main pieces I like a lot, just based on the price tags, are really the Bucs guys, just because I think that they're just so thin that they're going to have to play a lot, and that Tom Brady's just going to have like a few guys that he can throw the ball to. So I really like these four, but it's going to be tough to have all four of them in the lineup together. So I'd say that these three I like a lot, and the Miller is going to be a viable option. Hopefully he's in. And then on the Bears side, you have Mooney, who I like. On the Bears side, it's really Robinson, Mooney, and Foles are the three guys that I really like. So try to mix and match between those seven. I think on FanDuel is probably where I'm going to go. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and best of luck tonight.